evening, Fenlings. It is me, your furry host, Fen-sized. It is Saturday. Hope y'all are doing wonderful. Let me see. I am working on more emotes. Yeah, usually I game, but you know, I've been feeling more artsy, so yeah, bring on the art. Last time I got a heart emote done. Gosh, let's see. I think it was halfway decent. When it's made small and all that stuff will look different. So now I have that on my pending. So now I want to do tea drinking. She almost looks better without her fluff on her hair, but I gotta add that in. Like, all of these are like quick sketches that I've made on my Procreate and then transferred over. Mage, my dear, I hope you're doing wonderful. Thank you for joining in. Thank you, thank you. The ears. I need to make an ear emote too. I was thinking about that too. I love the ears. Yeah, before coming on, I was playing with audio, as usual, the ongoing battle. So if it's too loud, please don't hesitate to let me know. I don't want to hurt your floofy ears. Okay, let me see. Maybe I'll just go on line art and stuff. Like, I re-sketched over certain parts to make it easier for me to do my lines. See here. And was I doing 15 or was I doing... I think I was doing 7. That'll work. Making sure that. Oh, let me get the timeline out of my way. Do I start? Yeah, we'll do. It was thicker. Just lay around here. Maybe? How does it look thick-wise? On here, I want it to be consistent. I think it looks like it's... No, it's too thick. Maybe it was 10. That looks about right. I just gotta write this down somewhere. Probably do like a color history. Why can't they do a history with like the size of your brush? Good thing I have a handy dandy notebook right here. I'll just literally write this down. I want to be consistent. Very tan. Swiggity. Giggity. Oops, sorry. Did not mean to hit the mic. It's like I do have a lot of workspace and at the same time I don't. You'd think, like, gosh, I forget how long this desk is. Pretty long, though. And then I've joined it with another long desk, too. Hello, Fee! Greetings! Thank you for stopping by. Thank you. I'm working on more art. Feeling artsy. I finished my other one, and I have it on pending approval. So it's about like that. I have it glowing and stuff. It looks nice with a dark background. Hello! Yes, it's your little hobbit Fen. Yeah, I want it to glow like a... But then have it like the ametrine. I know, I can't make it look all snazzy as I'm like streaming. But of course after the fact. Oh, I didn't mean to grab you, heart. Boop. Thank you, though. Thank you. So I'm just trying to do this one because I want to drink the fancy tea. Fancy. I keep pressing the wrong button. There we go. Because I have like these buttons on my tablet, and of course they're not labeled. And again, everything is black. I know! Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous. So, it's probably gonna take longer. But anyway, pretty much, as I've mentioned, I want to put in these new emotes because they look more like this Fen instead of like the quick ones I made. And I threw on Discord, figured, be fun, be cute. You can put so many on there. But it was taking so long, I'm like, I don't know if it fell through the cracks or what, so I took them out. Well, I still have Crying Fen in there. But I took the other ones that were pending, said screw it. I put in my Dancing Fen animation that I made, so that's gonna be pending, and then this heart one. And if I can get this one done as well. But yeah, like, I was wanting to get a bunch done, and then maybe on the Discord have a poll or something where everyone can vote on what they would like to have in the last emote slot. Because I want you guys to be able to have fun with the, with the emotes too. Something that you would enjoy using. I should fade this just a smidgen. Oh, I went back several times. Hold on. My vector layer disappeared. Good old Fen to goof off, huh? Get rid of the confusion. That's better. Yeah, just out of curiosity, like, your opinion, what would you like to see in an emote? Fen-sized emote. Oh, I feel so weird sitting in this chair. I stole Kaiju's seat cushion. So these are like, gosh, literally like the folding metal chairs that you buy at like Costco or Sam's or whatever, but they have like the built-in cushion in them, and it's just not enough. And at first I'd make fun of Kaiju because it's like, oh, extra seat cushion thing on it makes it feel weird, and it's like, but it's been like putting pressure in my legs where I'm not getting circulation, so this cushion feels a lot better, but it's moving, so I have to readjust it. Fox Scream. I don't want to hurt your ears. Oh yeah, Fox Scream for emote. See, look at me. Scream. Now how would I do that? Or like, because I only have one animated emote available now, which is the dancing one I put in. But if I were to do another like animated one, and if I did a screech where it's like shaking the screen, Mint! Welcome, welcome! I feel like this size is not working. Is it? Hold on. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, that looks better. Welcome in. I be good. How you be?
Hello, little hobbit.
This little hobbit be good. Go. There we go. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Got my hefty, defty, big ol' water jug thingy. Peeking around the corner. You just want me to be sus? Well, I was thinking of doing like the little peekaboo where you see mostly ears. Kind of like the one that Mage used earlier in chat. I don't know if you saw it though. It was before you came in. But you know, it'd be like the top of my head and my big old ears go foof. I don't know, I guess you'd call like that like a lurking emote. I am doing another emote, and this one's gonna be a tea drinking Fen. And I finished my heart from last night, and this is what it looks like. Oh, da 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 da. Yeah, that one me. I like those. Those are cute. Like, I hope I can unlock a bunch. I'm sorry that that thing's popping up. Let me move my Vito tuber thing. It's being stupido. There. Hopefully it doesn't pop up again with the meters and stuff. Let's see. Oop. Susha. Sasha. Just, there's like so much to do. I don't know what to do. Cause like, I want to make, so much stuff like the panels and the transition things, or I don't know. I'm trying not to think too much on it because overload, but oh, Kaiju and the kids. So Kaiju works on weekends and he works a night shift. He'll work from 4:30 p.m. to 5 in the morning. He has a long shift, but the good side is that he works only 3 days a week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So he'll be with me on streams on Tuesdays. But yeah, I'm kaiju-less on weekends. Yeah, he gets pretty tired. So he'll like sleep in half the day. I only see him for like an hour or two, and then he goes to work. Yeah. The kids, they're booger butts. I FaceTimed with my parents earlier today, and they sent packages for the kids, and they were ecstatic. So they were opening it like, yay, goodies! They got clothes, they got art supplies, they got toy cars. What else? Gosh, shoes. I think I'm missing something, but that's the general idea. Yeah, kaiju. Gosh. Oh yeah. Floofy Bird. I showed Kaiju the game because he didn't have a chance to look on the Discord or whatnot, but I showed it to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I saw that." And then he goes to show me some other game that came out a couple years ago too, but we don't have the console. It's like an exclusive for the PlayStation 4, and like you get to run around rampant like as legit monsters, like some from Godzilla and other franchise things. It's like, oh wow, really? I don't know the name of it because it's literally in Japanese. But yeah, he's like, oh, that's so cute, the other dating sim one. And I'm like, it's too far off from now, but it'd be cute if like Valentine's was close and that you could play that then. That'd be so flippin' cute. I don't know, this thickness is bothering me. I think it's too thick. Maybe it was 7. I'll play with it. I don't want to do too thick lines anyway, since it's an emote. I think maybe this will do me better. Oh, hey, Karuga, what's up? Hey, Fen, have you streamed games before? Oh, yeah, I guess you've only come in when I've done art. Okay, but yeah, I used to do a lot and mostly games at first until I got more confident to start doing art streams. Gosh, goodness gracious. But yeah, I used to play a lot of Assassin's Creed. I finished Odyssey, and then I played Middle Earth, Shadows of Mordor, Middle Earth. I played Watch Dogs. Floopy. No, stop. Floofy. Yeah, I played some Fortnite just recently. Like, I've never played Fortnite before. And I guess they were doing the Dragon Ball event, and I love DBZ. Love it. Like, like I'm trying to keep up with the story, but I'm more favored toward the beginning of the series, all the way up to Frieza and stuff like that. I watched some of the Boo stuff and whatever. But gosh, I remember back in the day watching Goku and Vegeta fight, and my blood would be pumping, and after I watch it and I'm done, I want to like strangle something. That's terrible to say, but I'd be like, yeah, testosterone. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I love Vegeta, one of my favorite characters too. I'm trailing off here. Oh yeah, so yeah, I am trailing off. My train of thought is just going into the gutter. Da 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 da. But yeah, that's why I mentioned it. Forgive me. So when they had the skins, Kaiju bought me the Vegeta thing, and he wanted me to do all of the like quests and stuff so I can get the glider, which is the dragon, and I feel so ashamed because I'm forgetting their names. It's terrible. Shin, I think? I forget. I'm gonna get blown up for that. Anyway, Shamron. There we go, right? I don't know. I'm gonna get beat up. My bad. So yeah. And I felt guilty. I'm like, okay, I'll play it. So I ended up playing Fortnite for the first time because of that. Because Kaiju wants me to do that and like collab with him sometimes or whatever, you know? But yeah, I play games. I've gamed since I've been 3 years old. I have so many titles that I can't even remember them all, but that's just what I've been playing recently. And plus, it's like, I don't have a huge selection at the moment that's like streamable, that I feel deemable to be streamable. Oh. But,
On underscore mint underscore ice cream underscore one says bleh.
Aww. Bleh. Bleh. What about the blep? Like, blep. Blep, blep. No, it wasn't Godzilla 2014. Gosh. I'd literally have to try to look it up. Maybe I'll get Kaiju to post it in the Discord or something later. Like, the cover... I don't know what monster was on the cover, but it was like a very dark black, blue, gray shadings. It was in a city, and there was the big monster. I don't know which monster it was, though. Didn't look like it was really anything. For some reason, it gave me vibes of Missing No, the Pokemon, like the cheat when you were in red and blue. Because literally it was just all messed up looking. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably so wrong. You literally just showed it to me earlier today. Yes. Fill that tea. I love tea. Plus, it makes her look sassy. Prissy. Who knows? Oh, maybe I should fix that one. I don't know. Something about the angle. You can do it. Wiggle. Like, if I can, I'll try to, like, text or ask him. Either he'll post it on the Discord, or if I get the information, I'll post it. to show you what I'm talking about anyway. So, like, just curious, Minty, you want me to play games and stuff? Or, like, what games would you want me to play? Again, I'm poor. Like, I really want to get Splatoon 3, and it's already come out, but I just don't have the funds. And when Pokemon comes out, I want it so bad, but I don't know what's gonna happen from now until then. You just curious? Okay. I was just curious. Because, like, down the road, like, if we get a bigger community or whatever, I'm all up for, like, doing community night and stuff like that. If you want to play games together, I would absolutely love to. We could do Fall Guys, we could do Mario Kart, we could do Smash Brothers, whatever. Even if there's, like, suggestions, whatever. I'm totally up for it. Totally down. Curse you, crippled hands. I hate doing Let me. Boop. Just to try to drawing like holding a teacup or whatever. I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing it right. Oh. Fudgies. Yes, I would totally love to do a community night. I'd also like to do like those movie night things on the Discord or whatever too. But I don't know how that works exactly. But for sure. I still haven't watched Sonic 2. I want to watch that so much. I also got Disney Plus and I guess the Pinocchio 2, not 2, sorry, forgive me. The real live action Pinocchio movie came out. And you can stream that. Kaiju was saying, I guess, online, he's already been seeing people post about it. And one person said they were angry. I'm just like, wait, what? It's a simple story. Why are they angry? Got me curious. I don't know. I also was watching Dark Moon. Finally got around to it. No, not Dark Moon. Dark Knight, right? Or Moon Knight. Oh gosh, I'm getting it all wrong. It's pretty moon. I think it's Moon Knight. Oh, that was terrible. Yeah, I saw it on Prime. Ever since I saw it, I'm like, ooh. Oh. Did you watch it yet, Floofy, or are you not into Sonic so much? There's so many other movies or shows that I'd like to watch. I just either never got around to it, forgot about it. I finally got around to watching Lightyear. It wasn't terrible. Like, it was weird. It's like I wanted to watch it, but I had no drive making me watch it. And then one night, I just popped it on because the kids were being stinky. Because my daughter, she likes to pick what's on the TV 24/7 and it drives me insane. It was near bedtime and I'm like, you know what? Mama's gonna pick what she wants on TV. Oh, yeah. It's like, I don't feel the excitement like I used to. Like, there's a few things once in a while, I guess, but like lately, I feel you on that. Like, just no real. You know, like, okay, the only thing I'm looking forward to, I'm not super excited about it, but I'm definitely gonna watch it, is the Hocus Pocus sequel. And that's gonna be on Disney Plus. And yeah, you can bet your bottom I'm definitely gonna watch that. Yeah, I feel like I literally have to force myself to watch stuff. I'm not the eraser. Maybe? I'll get that. Yeah, Hocus Pocus. They're doing a sequel. You don't know that movie? Okay. Older movie, Halloween movie, and it's gosh, I think it came out in the 90s. But there's the Sanderson sisters, and they were killed, and I guess they had a spell or a curse or whatever. So whoever, like, if a virgin lit the black candle, they'd come back for one night only. Well, they'd, you know, have a chance at coming back, and they'd have to, like, suck the souls out of children and stuff. But it's a classic. Like, every, like, Halloween season or whatever, watch it. And it's becoming more and more popular because, you know, the kids that watched it are now adults like me. So I think now they have the shows in, like, Disney World or whatever during the Halloween thing. They added Hocus Pocus, blah, blah, blah. But if you really haven't watched it, it's a cute movie. Please do. Please watch it. Super cute. It's fun. So cute. How was my day? Sorry, adjusting my seat again. This stupid cushion. It does help me though. Overall, my day has been okay. Nothing to rave about. I wouldn't say boring either. Just taking care of the kids and cleaning up after them, and then talking with my folks for like a couple hours on stream. Because, you know, they live in Florida and I'm in Cali, and so we try to make it a point to like talk to each other at least like once a week. Sometimes we, you know, are busy, but for the most part, yeah, at least on the weekends or something, you know? But yeah, it's definitely cooling off, so I'm so happy. Like, it was very cloudy. Didn't really see the rain, and if it did happen, it was probably while I was sleeping at night. But it was like 85 today, which is fantabulous. Loved it. And I think it's gonna go up a little tomorrow, maybe? But it's not nearly like it. So I am glad. Hey.
We can play it on my Nintendo Entertainment System.
But yeah, just another successful day of surviving, of living. Ding for you? Yeah, like, I think I brought this up. I don't remember, but apparently, like, the clouds were from a hurricane and stuff. And I know we're, like, with mountains and everything, that probably, and I'm pretty far inland, but I'm, like, disappointed, you know? Like, that's it? My folks, they were like, I don't know how the, like, weather and the news portray us to the rest of the country, but like my folks, even my cousin, they're like, dude, are you okay? It's so hot over there. Are you and the kids okay? And then my my dad's like, yeah, hurricane, blah blah blah. It's like, I didn't hear nothing about it. If it was that big a deal, I would imagine it would pop up on my phone or something, you know, like on my feeds, or like Kaiju would have heard about it. No. Like, okay. I don't know if I want to. I could just keep it like that. I don't know. Oop. Yeah, like coming from Florida to here, it's a huge difference in multiple ways. But with the weather, it's like during the summer, that is rainy season for Florida. And I would literally get storms every single day. It was like clockwork. It would happen around mid early afternoon. And sometimes they'd last a little longer, sometimes it'd be super short, but predictable. Rain, whatever. Here, I guess rainy season's in the winter, but even then, it's like barely anything. Like I'm when it rains, I'm used to getting wet, and that everything is drenched, and I actually see raindrops. Here, it's like far few between light sprinkles. Oh wow, we had such a huge shower, and it's like barely anything. What the hell is this? What is this? I guess they say rainy season, but yeah, it's probably non-existent. Like, dude, well, I think it was the year I moved here that it was actually very rainy that winter, and we literally, like, it was so, our yard drenched. We had to get like stepping stones and canopies to walk around from like the front and the back house or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh. It hasn't happened since, though. Oh. Sorry. Boop. Boop-a-da-doop-a-da-bop. Boop-a-da-bop. Boop-a-da. Like, should I rework my schedule? Like, should I do majority art and, like, well, pretty much, like, almost opposite. Like, instead of one art, two gaming, should I do two art and one gaming? Or, I don't know. I've been self-conscious about my streams more so than usual. And, like,
On underscore mint underscore ice cream underscore one says blep.
bleh. That's so hard to say because it's like I want, how do I word this? I want to make other people happy. And doing more art is probably less stressful for me because it's not like, oh, what am I gonna choose for gaming and stuff, but then also at the same time my whole confidence and stuff and whatever. But it's like, I don't know, I guess I'm always trying to please other people. Because if they're happy, I'm happy. Other people are happy though. Really? You can't make everybody happy, but I don't know. I don't know. I just like knowing your guys' opinion too, you know? I appreciate when you guys come to pretty much almost every stream, and I want to make you happy too. Because if you think about it, it's changed a lot since I first started streaming. I don't know. Noob. Fine. Accept my answer. Hobbits? No. Like, ultimately my goal, like, I don't know, maybe I should do more art instead. And then maybe do, like, community. Sorry, I'm just thinking. Because ultimately my goal with making the stream, besides interacting with people and having a fun time, is, yes, improving on my art, but I want to one day make like an online shop or a business or something. I want to be able to work from home, even if it doesn't make that much. That way I'm with my kids, and you know, my daughter has so many allergies, and I worry because technically she could go to school next year. And I'm afraid to send her to school because she's got so many allergies. If I can work from home, that would be fantabulous. Maybe I could try homeschooling. I don't know. Everything's kind of up in the air, but like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what yet, but for sure I wanted to start with maybe like digital stuff and maybe even stickers. Like, I got a Cricut and trying to learn how to use that too. I guess you're right, Foofy. It's always me just being a little nerve-wracked and stuff too. Like, again, like the confidence, and I've pushed myself a lot, so I really do. I have to give myself a lot of credit because I don't think I really would have gotten this far if I didn't just do it. Probably would have talked myself out of it or something. Honestly. And I've been able to do art, which I thought I'd never be able to do again, and I get to talk to people. Because I'm an introvert. I'm really not good at talking with people. It takes so much energy out of me. I don't mean any harm, because the thing is, I want friends, you know? Like, in real life, like when I had school and things like that. But, like, the upkeep of friends is so hard for me. Come on, Curl. If I like that, but not that. But yeah, like, I want to do stuff and hang out and go places and this and that, but it just takes so much energy. Oh, you're having internet issues? Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, like, I really wish my closed captioning was working because ever since OBS updated, I think I fixed some of my things, but I'm probably gonna have to downgrade. I just don't get the time, so it's like I try to fix stuff. I fixed my alerts though. My alerts should show again, so that's good. Okay, hopefully, I hope the internet is behaving now. But yeah. I feel bad because I had a friend back in middle school and she was such a sweetheart. Like, I know what it's like to be the new student, you know, in school. And when I met her, she was the new kid. So I decided to go up to her and make friends with her, and we, you know, hit it off, and we started making our own little group. But the thing is that she was a lot more social than I was. And when she would want to constantly call me and stuff and talk, it's like, but I don't know what to talk about. I don't know. Nothing happens. Nothing's interesting. We're just middle school kids. So I feel bad. And eventually, like, because we didn't have classes together, because we went to two different high schools, we ended up drifting apart. But I'd always think about her, and I still think about her, and I love her very much. I miss her. And I wonder what she's doing and what she's up to. So I kind of regret it. Yeah, it's like texting. I can do texting, but phone calls. Oh my gosh! Like when you have to do those to make a doctor's appointment or technical oh gosh, tech support. Oh my gosh, I hate it. I hate it so much. I forced myself. If not, it's like, can you do this? But Kaiju, he's all like, I'm gonna pretend I'm stupid. You can do all the doctor's appointments for me and the kids, and little butt he is. But yeah, I literally have to mentally prepare myself before I go and do a phone call. Forget about it. And then once I'm on there, I'm fine, you know? It's not. Kaiju! You been lurking? It's not pretending. Well, I guess also he likes to throw it on me because it's like I used to work medical anyways. So he's just like, here you go. But yeah, because I've worked and familiar with that, it's like, okay. I used to be even more introverted back in school, but when I was put on the workforce and I had to force myself to talk to people and stuff, I've gotten a lot better with, you know, being more open and talking, but it takes a lot out of me. So I've gotten a lot better, but yeah, no. You just got on the stream to be slandered. Ow, racer. Sorry, babe. We're just, I don't know, just chatting about being like antisocial introvert peoples. And not liking having to talk on the phone and stuff for like tech support, doctors, visit things. I hate doing it. I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't want to do this. Maybe I should have kept the line there just for a second. So here, yeah, it would overlap. Enough? Maybe not. Hey Alec, how are ya? I'm doing good. I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm just working on more emotes and stuff. I don't think you were here yesterday. But I was working on emotes then too. Hold on. I'll zoom out. So I'm just working on a tea drinking fan. And I finished this one this morning for like a heart. Nee, 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 nee. Art container. Yeah, did it. So that's pending because I put it into Twitch. Just takes flipping forever. Kaiju, you're officially a dad, for sure. Such horrible dad jokes. That's what you gotta do on your stream, Kaiju. You gotta put it on like bot or something, or a command to tell a dad joke. That or redeemable. Do that. Do a redeemable, and then you have to tell a dad joke. Oh, that's hard to say. Like, okay. I'm all new to this. Sorry, I'm stretching. Oh, I cracked my back. Okay. Anyway, oh, Miss Lala does it? That's cute. So, I don't have a lot of history. I don't have a big portfolio. So I can't really say for sure on average how long it takes me. This, let's see. I made this sketch on my Procreate and I transferred it over on here, but that sketch did not take me very long. And then I just started on the line art here since stream, and gosh, let's see. I've been live for like 40 some minutes. So of course, you know, if it wasn't on stream, I'd probably be coloring and stuff by now. It really all depends on what it is. And I made other emotes too, like, gosh, what did I do? I don't have a lot of free time because I have children, so when I put them to bed at night for a couple hours, I work on stuff. I think, I made several emotes that I put on my Discord just to have emotes, but, like, I felt like they weren't, like, well, let me just see if I can pop some of them up, actually. As an example, like, they're super simple, and they took me little to no time at all. Like, I got several done in an evening. Like, I got the cry emote, and I got that one. So on average, those didn't take me too long, maybe under 2-3 hours. But it's like, it was super basic, and I felt like I made them to make them, to have something, and they were fun, and they're cute, but I wanted something that looked more like my OC, like it's in the corner right there. My little reference right here. So I wanted to redo it, but I posted these all on my Discord. Gosh, I have several of them, but yeah, they're all on Discord. I even have like a creepy derpy looking one. Oh gosh. But yeah. I haven't ever commissioned before. Like, I've made art for other people just to get some practice in or whatever. Oh, you want me to show my Anka? Well, that's... Well, I guess technically, yeah, that's an emote. But that's animation, and that took me forever. Hold on. Well, technically, it took me 2 days? But that's me working on it periodically throughout the day, like, as soon as my children would leave me alone. Hold on. So yeah, I made the little Anka dance. Hold on, let me pull up my timeline. So I have that pending, so that'll be my animated emote. It's cute. I think it's cute. But yeah, that took me about 2 days to do. It was 10 panels for that animation. But still, it felt like it was flipping forever. And then it feels like you're coloring the same picture. Well, kind of technically you are, but the same thing over and over and over. Fix this seat. Ugh. This cushion really does help. Kaiju, we might have to get another seat cushion. That way you have one and I have one. Because it really is helping. Because, like, it feels like the circulation in my legs is horrible when I have no cushion. I know, but the cushion would shift around and move and stuff, and I didn't like it, and it was uncomfortable. But I'm willing to to put up with it if it's gonna make my legs a little more comfortable. It's weird to sit in, though. It's like, it's comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time. I don't know. I'm jib-jabbing. Gibbery jabbies. I don't know if I... Hold on. It'll probably find it. Ah, I need to connect some too. It's like they have connect vector lines, but sometimes it doesn't want to connect. Like, yeah, what are you doing? You connected in the wrong spot. But yeah, I've never done a commission before. I've done like art for fun or whatever, and I'm not sure how much I would charge. Hello, little hobbit. Yes, Kaiju, the hobbit is here. Yeah, Mint. He'd been here for a few minutes. He caught me slandering him. It gets slow where he works. It's like either it's like back to back, or there's times where it's like dead. So there are times when he can bug me, but if he's busy, he definitely puts the phone down and he goes back to what he's got to do. It's not like your average job, I guess. It's not like, I don't know. He's like in a booth with a couple other guys, and I forget what they call it, but like trucks come in, trucks come out, blah blah blah. Security, like looking around the premises to make sure everything's hunky-dory. I'm just looking for like little empty spots, things, yeah, there we go. Things that aren't connected. Oh, you know. I gotta do the hair bit up top. It almost looks nice without it, but it wouldn't be accurate. You might lose connection. I'm sorry, darling. Oh, okay. You're gonna switch with the sheriff. The sheriff. You're not wrong, Mint. You're not wrong. I think there is 4 of them. Oh, did you watch one of his streams? Or oh wait, yeah, you did, but his opinion on the ice cream. Little butt. Little butt. He needs to look. I've said this once, I'll say it again. He has to eat like a tube of toothpaste. Look me dead in the eyes and tell me that tastes like mint ice cream. Because for you to say that it tastes like toothpaste, it's not the same, exactly. Like, I know you're saying that to make fun of it kind of deal, but dude, it's not toothpaste. It's mint flavored. Just say you don't like it. That's fine, but don't compare it to toothpaste. Tacky tip. I think I've had regular just mint, not mint chocolate chip before. It's still good. I want to have one of those ice creams that come in those fish waffle cones. Gosh, Kaiju, what are they called? I forget. I can't remember. It starts with a T. I'll think of. What color is mint ice cream again? Are you playing with me or no? The color of mint ice cream. Okay. I've had mint ice cream that's green. I've also had mint ice cream that's white. Hayaki? Because I keep getting it confused with takoyaki. Like, I know it's not takoyaki. Because those are the little, like, octopus balls. Or balls of, like, octopus or whatever. Thank you, Karuga. Thank you. Yes, mint ice cream is fine. Even if you don't like it, that's fine. It's fine. Just don't compare it to toothpaste. And I want to get him to do it. I want to go to Wally and make him eat toothpaste. I want him to eat toothpaste. Just take a big swig of it, or like dollop it real big on a spoon and eat it. And I want him to tell me it tastes like ice cream. I know he'd probably do it just to spite me too. But he's gonna eat. He's gonna eat it. What color is Crest toothpaste? Depending on what you get, either white, or you can get the ones that have the white, red, and green in it, like the striped one, or you can get the Crest Kids where it's blue and sparkly. There's a lot of different variants. There's even the bubblegum where it's pink. Sky's the limit, Kaiju. Yeah, Kaiju was gonna take me there. One of these days he was gonna take me there to the Ontario Mills one. I really want to have it. I think one time he offered, but it was a bad timing. And then I'm like, well, what about the kids? He's like, what about the kids? It's like, dude, I can't just sit there and get an ice cream. And they look at me like, but mother, what shall you feed us? I haven't eaten since the last time. Oh, Hershey toothpaste manufacturers. I don't know what his favorite ice cream is. Oh, let's see. Simple Man, just strawberry. I thought you'd be more of like a sherbet kind of guy. The berry of straw. They have a cheese one? Oh yeah, we took the kids there. Levi was too little for that, I think, but Jenna went by and she was so scared of the crocodile. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. It was great. It was totally... Okay, yeah, I gotta do the floof up top. Pretty. Come on. Why you do this to me? Curse you. That's better. Hold on, what? No cheese filled. Wait, hold on, I gotta scroll up. Cheese filled instead of filling it with ice. Oh. It'd be interesting if they filled it up with other stuff with the cheese. But if it's just cheese, that's a lot of cheese. Then again, it reminds me of... Doesn't, like, hot dog in a stick do it where it's not, like, the hot dog, it's literally just cheese inside of the breading? Or am I remembering wrong? But I think it reminds me of that idea. Like, they put, like, a melty cheese inside as opposed to, like, shredded cheese or something. Let's see. Speaking of different flavors, have you seen the old school way to eat apple pies? I think, didn't you send me a TikTok? You already sent me that, so I think... It was with the cheese on top of it. Because they would take the apple pies and then they'd bake it with cheese on top or something? Is that what it was? Because at that point, it's like having a cracker with, you know, apple preservative and sharp cheddar. I don't imagine it tasting bad. It'd be different. I'd be willing to try it, but I would prefer to have it a la mode instead. What's wrong with old recipes being weird like that? For real. I enjoy the guy, gosh. Is he just a TikToker? Or, forget his name, but he's a guy who bakes things from, like, old recipes or whatever, or, gosh, I forget his username, but Kaiju knows what I'm talking about. Hey, Simp, how you doing? Good evening. Hey, Demon! How y'all be? I hope you're having a wonderful evening. Just working on some more emotes. I'm trying to catch up with chat, too. I can't remember them offhand, but yeah, there are some recipes that sounds interesting. But like this guy on TikTok makes them and he gives his opinion on it. It's like, oh, really? Neat. Dylan? Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a sweetie. I like watching his content. Yeah, yeah. That's him. I'm pretty sure he's gay, yeah. He's really fun. Yeah, I love him too. Oh no, that's fine. If you gotta go eat stuff, by all means. Hopefully you don't have to have another one of those pizzas. I know, right? I want to try some of the recipes. I forget what exactly, forget, but yeah, some of them sounded very interesting, like, hey. Not the eraser. Go back. The little flute on top, but does it look out of... Yeah, it's fine. Little flute. Oh, let's see. E. Dylan Hollis. Okay. I'm sorry, Kaiju. It takes forever. Like, I've looked it up and some people are like, oh, it takes sometimes weeks. At first I looked, it's like, oh, it should take anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. Okay, doesn't seem so bad. And all of a sudden, other people are like, yeah, it's been like 2 or 3 weeks. And one of them on Reddit was complaining about it, and literally that day it happened. It's like, oh, what do you know? Of course I say something about it, and then it gets approved.
Hello, little hobbit.
Yeah, so I ended up taking some of the ones that were still pending out because they were the old emotes I made, and I felt like it didn't really match my Fen character. So that's why I'm working on these. These match more of my character because I made the other ones that are super simple, and I have them on Discord for people to use for fun. But again, I just felt like it didn't do my character justice, so I'm just working on this stuff instead. More, personalized and whatnot. So yeah, I took those out. I worked on a heart one yesterday for anyone that was here yesterday. I finished it this morning, so this is what it looks like. So that's pending. So it's like nee 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 nee. So I got that. Hello, if I'm saying it right, Savion. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you're having a lovely and wonderful evening, and thank you for joining. Thank you very much. I'm just making some emotes and stuff. Hopefully they get approved. Ah! Never! Yeah, but then I have to stream 60 times. 60 times. That's gonna take me a couple months. Hopefully they get approved before then. Oh my gosh. Stop fighting, you're tearing us apart. Yeah, no drama. No drama in chat, please. If you're having any personal issues, y'all have to duke it out amongst yourselves. Hopefully it's just a misunderstanding. But no drama bombs, please. Oh, it's currently 1 in the morning? Are you Eastern Standard Time? It's 10:30 for where I'm at. I'm on the West Coast. Alright, kudos. Fight me outside? Simp, no! No! You guys. Oh, that's a cute emo. That's adorable. Let me just double check on my lines, and then I can get started with coloring. Hooray! Blah, 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 blah. I think they're pretty much... hold on. Hey, I want connect, not delete. Logicals. Okay. Huh. It. I think that's about it. Hooray, new layer. Promotion. I had to click on it to know what it was. I'm like, it's like a... I thought it was fire, like a big ball of fire. But no, it's hearts and red hair. It's cute. It is really cute. Ooga chugga, ooga chugga. What? Ikam pukam? Ikam pukam. Oh, fudge. I forgot. Lower that and then reference it. Didoy, hello. And we can always go back and... Kegs. Where's the loose end here? I'll go back to that. Wonder what I'm gonna do for my teacup. What color am I gonna make? Dude. Where? Okay, hold on. I think it should connect, but it doesn't want to connect. Well, alrighty then. Little doo-doo head right there. Found myself another straggler. He added that one, but won't add my duck with a lightsaber. What's it look like? I'm curious. I want to see a duck with a lightsaber. Hold on, this. Okay, I can get that one done. Oh my gosh. Why? For the pat meet. Eventually I'll get more redeemables in there. I gotta set up redeemables for switching out the PNG tuber and doing head pats and things like that. I got many plans, just not enough time today to try to get to all of them. Plus, I don't know, like, just lately, I have been so, like, easily distracted. Can't focus. I'll find myself, like, watching other streamers or YouTubes and stuff. Like, dude. Okay. Let me see. Aw, it's adorable. He's cute. I can understand if they don't want to use it, if that's not what they want or whatever, but still, they can't not say that's cute. It's adorable. Yeah. I love him too. He's cute. Oh, hold on. Let me look again. Wait a minute. He's got a red saber. He's a bad duck? Oh, he asked for it? That's a bunch of baloney. Booger snots. Did he give a reason why? At least, like, constructive criticism or whatnot. But if he just left you hanging, it's like, aw. Cracks. What are we missing? Ah, nose. Probably won't notice them when they're teeny, but I know they're there, and I cringe, and it must be done. Must be done. Must be done. Must be done. Before stream, I was watching Simon Red. Like, I love him. Such a cutie. Chips and salsa! I love chips and salsa. I eat a lot of salsa and I shouldn't. Let's see, I'm curious. How do I spell it? Think that's it? Yeah, I think it's spelt like that. But I love him. He's awesome. Oh, thank you for the biddies. Thank you so much. Yes, I fixed it. So, okay. Literally right before stream, I was checking through my stuff real quick and like I was looking and I made a folder for PNG tubers and things like that and whatever. I was looking through it all. Like, okay, everything should work. The layout and everything, how it's popped together. And I had a moment. It was in my PNG tuber folder for my Clip Studio window. And I felt like such a head. Because I usually put them all in their own category, so I don't know if it slipped in there or what. But, like, at least it's an easy fix. Oh, it's embarrassing. I know, right? One less thing to worry about. What am I gonna do with the teacup? I can make it plain and just do a white cup, or maybe make it kind of ornate. You know what? Yeah, maybe I'll do it white cup and I'll put like gold swirls on it or something. I think that doesn't sound bad. I don't want to get too intricate or anything. Let's see. guess I just start on shading and whatnot. Not big. Maybe that big. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Or should I do the... Yeah, do the gold, sorry. The gold first. My bad. I think I got a couple ornate, swirly, whatchamacallits in here. Let's see. It. Those got roses on it. Maybe those. Maybe that one. Smaller. Oh, what do you need to ask, Kaiju? I'm all ears. Sorry, that was super lame. That looks cute. Maybe a little bigger though. That is cute. That's adorable. Okay, hold on. Just super simple. Adds a touch of class. See, did you not change the TGIF to TGIS for Saturday? You know what? That's the thing I forgot. That's the one bloody thing I forgot. Is updating my stream information through OBS. I posted Twitter, I posted Discord, and all that stuff. Hold on. And even though I'm gonna update it here, it doesn't want to update it on Twitch. So I have to literally go in there manually. I might as well just do it from Twitch. Hold on a second. I apologize. Thank you. Let's see. I should be able to do it from Chia. Edit info. Yes. I even like left my go live notification on Friday too. And no one said anything. No, I'm teasing. Yeah, I'm just not really gonna change it much. I'm literally just gonna take out the Friday bit. There we go. Go back to my page here. Thank you for pointing that out, Kaiju. Goodness gracious. And I, like, okay, like, I've mentioned it before, but I used to use Streamlabs, and it would prompt you for the stream information before you went live. So, of course, you wouldn't forget to, you know, put it in there. And on here, I can literally skip that and just click start streaming. So it's one of those things that I forget, and it drives me crazy. I'm probably literally gonna have to create, like, a checklist for myself and have to go through the checklists because I keep forgetting. Jiminy Cricket. Okay. I forgot to do the little thing on the bottom. No. Nah, just keep it like that. No harm done. Yeah, each has its pros and cons. I think there's a lot more to do on OBS and stuff. It's just getting to getting used to it and whatever, you know? There's several things I want to try out on it, but I just never got around to it yet. Because it requires me to focus, and I can't focus. I literally have the children I have to be for at their beck and call or whatever. I like how it looks pudgy. I want it to be pudgy. Or too pudgy, anyway. We'll figure it out. I just... For some reason I think it's Sunday. And it's not. It makes me sad, because if it were Sunday, it'd be Kaiju's last night, and then he'd be able to be home with me. I know, right? You already finished your food? Just chilling. Sorry. It's not as lively as the other time. I wonder if I'll probably be able to finish this piece. Still got 30 minutes, 2 hours. I'll definitely finish this one, probably. Why? Why? Makes it even worse. I just have it on whatever, like, lo-fi game music thing for a couple hours. I don't like how my hand keeps cutting in and off. I don't know if it's like, the dimensions or something to it, but it's like, I just pan down and it doesn't... Huh. Okay. Eh. You never started eating your food? I'll eat it. I didn't have anything special earlier. I had leftovers. I just had leftover spaghetti. And, just with some sauce and Parmesan cheese. Nothing spectacular. I do have to make the ground turkey meat. I forgot to do that today, but I'm just gonna do it tomorrow. I'll be fine. Probably make turkey burgers or something. Well, it's good. Yoshi's story music is good. Kids nowadays are like, oh, this is good. Because what, they were bringing it back on TikTok or something? I don't know, whatever. Mola. Oh, see me, I'm getting all like mellow too. Did I stay up to do stuff with oxygen? That is a good question. I usually stream for 2 hours. I know I get carried away sometimes. If anything, I may stop streaming 30 minutes. I guess about just before 11:30 then. It all depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling too tired, I might just have to go to bed.
Werewolf says Mother, I crave ice cream. Mother. Okay, time to rob that bank again.
I thought I had to worry about rat. Amen. Stop it, my baby is not gonna have ice cream. Oh my gosh. Stretch, stretch. Good, good. Too late for that. No ice. Yeah, I guess it depends on how I feel. If I'm awake enough, if you want to go over stuff, that's fine. If not, maybe tomorrow, but it's hard to say because during the day I am dealing with my darling little childrens and they're very demanding. So it's like I could try, but I don't know if it'd be like an in and out thing or whatever. Like You have my attention for 5 seconds. All of a sudden, no. Like, how would you go about it anyway? Like, would we, like, go into a voice chat or something on Discord or something? Or what's your idea? Nice. You know, I'd like to meet more streamers that have kids. Like, you know how you see those people that are in groups on Twitch? I never really looked into it, but I don't know. I'd like to see if a group like that exists. I wouldn't mind joining it with other moms and daddies. Oh yeah? Yeah, I just never thought of looking for it. Yeah, I've always wondered, because you know how they have groups on Twitch? So, like, several streamers will be part of, like, Stream Beam or Roar or whatever that I've seen. And I'd like to be in a group with a bunch of other mommies and daddies. I wouldn't mind having a Twitch group like that. The Sunset was saying they have that. Oh, at least a tag for it. I have to look it up. That meant to be colored in? No. I think that wasn't part of the... Hold on. Oh, yeah. Usually when I wake up, I'll turn on the computer and I try to hop on here and there. Sometimes it'll say I'm online, but technically I'm away from my computer. But literally, as soon as I wake up, I turn it on and it's on all day. Because I try to, like, poke in and get a little time here and there, you know? That's what I meant. Oh, right? Pretty sure. Yeah. Oh, it looks weird to me. Well, fudgy. Here. Back. Okay. Looks funny. With the little tiny puffle. Whatever. Yes, plumbers. There we go. I don't know. Hold on. Meh. 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 Hold up. What's that? That part. Awful. Aw. Oh, that's part of the floofy. Floofy, floofy, floofy. Confused. Meh. Ay, ay, ay. Always pressing the wrong button. Doesn't happen. A little. Dolls. Oh. Okay. Is everybody at work today? Because gosh, rotation, what is it? Every 3 or 4 hours or whatever for y'all? Just a little bit. Whatever. Okay. Not like you're gonna sorry, Kaiju. I know sometimes it's so poor that you can only do audio, but can you still see the picture too? Maybe. You can try. You can try. You can try to be the better dog. Gosh. Where's that from again? I think it was a pug and an old man. It was a cute video. Finding things, other layers. Hey, look. Check. Wool and gold. Hooray! Wonderful. I love gold. Okay. Yeah, maybe that. Rat, welcome! Hey, my dude. Nice seeing you coming in. Hope your evening's been fantabulous. Fantabulous. Cheap streams today too, right? On Friday, Saturday? I'm pretty sure he does both days too, like I do. It's so silly. I keep forgetting his schedule. But I'm getting better at it. I think it's Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I think. He's streaming now? What's he streaming? Maybe I can try to raid him this time. Because, let's see. If I finish this piece... yeah, maybe if I finish. We'll see. If not, he's gonna try to get me again, huh? Oh, sheep. Fighting game? Huh. I'll do a shout out for him. Rumbleverse. Oh, okay, they're playing Rumbleverse. Okay. But yeah, he's an awesome sheep. He is my buddy. He's streaming as well. And I recommend him. He's a pretty chill dude. But everyone pretty much likes to bully him. Poor guy. We have a lot of fun though. He's starting to do art again too, which is nice. I don't know if he'll keep up with it or not, but yeah. Let's see. Kind of like wrestling battle royale. Oh wait, that one. Thought it was that WB. You know what? Honestly, I thought that too. I thought that was what it was referring to. That one's called the multiverse, though, right? That's probably why I got confused too. You're not the only one. You redeemed the stretchies. Thank you, Kaiju. I'm gonna stand up for this one. The seat cushion's working, but at the same time, it still hurts my butt. What did you say about my mother? It makes me think, okay, the Owl House and Hootie. Hootie's awesome. And when he was talking to what's his face, that Demon King, and teaching stuff, trying to figure out what kind of demon he was or whatever. But he was talking, and Hootie's all like, "What did you say about my mother?" It was great. Oh, I love Hootie so much. He's amazing. Rat, how could you say that stuff in my chat? How dare you? How dare? You need to calm yourself, Rat. Oh gosh. Wasn't it a different name? Scoozy. Some long name for your god or something. Huh. Okay. Oh gosh, I put it in a different layer. Whatever. You know what? It's there. It's there. Right? No, it's not fine. Fudge. Which one did I put it in? Jiminy Cricket. Did I put it in the regular one? I did. Well, crikey. Hold on. It wasn't a lot, so. Oh gosh. Sandim. I said this before. Sandimagolax. Sandimagolax. Say that 3 times, and then you can summon him. I want chips and salsa. Salsa. I want some salsa. Giggity giggity. Did it finish? Hold on. Got quiet. Oh, it did finish. Here we go. Like, dude, it's quiet. It's too quiet. Brush densifier. There we go. Random thought, I doubt it would be brought up, but do you think British and British colony, Australia, Scotland, Ireland, etc. will address the Queen's death in children's media, Peppa Pig and Bluey? I don't think so. I don't think they would do it in like the cartoons like Peppa Pig and Bluey. I don't think. It'd be interesting if Bluey brought it up and like took her twist on teaching things about death and stuff. But then again, they already did that episode with the budgie. I really feel like they wouldn't. Right. Yeah, they do. But then technically now there's a different queen. So they're different, but they're still a queen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Alright, just don't stay up too late, Rat. Oh, did I hit mute by mistake? No, I didn't hit mute. Unless my stuff's acting weird. Yeah, because... I don't know. I don't really have a mute button on here. Technically. Like, that's easy to switch back and forth. I don't know. You know, I think sometimes my character might bounce and move without me talking because my headset, I forgot to charge it from last night because it died. So I'm playing music on my Bose speaker. I tested the audio and it shouldn't be coming through.
Rotting Rat 12 says, Mama, can I have Taco Bell? I want yum yums. If you don't give it to me now, I will rob another bake, steal a car, then go and buy some Taco Bell. Ha ha ha. So plaza 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 plaza, gimme gimme, or I will sacrifice another child to
Oh, my bad. My bad about that then. Yeah, because I noticed that sometimes the bass would pick up the sound and my character would jump, but then I wouldn't say anything. Oh, my bad. I want Taco Bell now. Oh, I love their breakfast crunch wraps. And whatever the sauce they put in it, I want it. I want that sauce at home so I can make my own crunch wrap. Want it. Thank you for bugging me, yo kaiju. Thank you. I Wavyo. For anyone that does not know, and I say it a lot, but Kaiju Kittens is my IRL husbando. I gotta put that section in my about me. I gotta update that. I gotta update it, and I gotta put your face on there. Well, you know, your Kaiju Kitten OC anyway. No, I'm just gonna dox you. Oh, rotting. Oh, rat. You
Hello,
sweet
little
mouse.
hobbits.
Hello! Hello! Welcome back, Minty. Yeah, Rat was telling me that he was streaming and he's playing Rumbleverse, some kind of fighting game. Gosh, it's already almost 11:30. Where did the time go? Like, cell shading? Easy. But when you have to do, like, the airbrushing or whatever, like I try to do with the gold, it takes forever. I hate gold. Hold on. Big brush. Bigger brush. Bigger brush. Bigger brush. And it's kind of just like, eh. Swirly. Swirly, swirly. My bond. Oh. Uh-huh. Meh. Eh. Ah. Did the erase. I have that little button on my, like, tablet pen or whatever. Drives me crazy. Meh. Too many people to go to? What do you mean, like watching their streams and stuff? Don't feel bad. You want to watch somebody else. Don't feel like you have to juggle anything if that's the case. Yeah, don't worry about it. There's no hard feelings. It's not gonna bug me. Boop. Because I know I'm pretty chill right now. There's nothing going on here. Just chilling. Taking a lot longer than I anticipated. Density. It's going. Working on the colors, trying to finish the gold bits and stuff. And then from... oh, duh, it's not even selected. What am I doing? But yeah, finishing the gold bits. And then after that, I'm going to do the gem. And after I do the gem, then I'm probably going to change the color of the lines. And then from there, probably do the outer lines. And then I think it should be done. But it might have to wait until another stream because it is getting late. It's about 11:30. So I don't know. I might have to wrap things up. I think I don't know. Like, I don't want to go too late. Like, I want to finish it. But when I think about how much I gotta do, it's still a decent amount. The gold takes a lot of time and the gem's gonna take a lot of time. Kind of like how I did the gem on this one. It takes a while. Pretty much it'd be the same for the gem on there. Sure, I can make it simpler. Would I be happy? No, I gotta do I could do it the hard way. Oh, if I'm tired? Yeah, you know what? Because what's gonna happen is that if I end stream, I'm probably gonna see sheep for a moment. And then maybe I would call it a night. Jeez. I don't want to stay up too late. I stayed up late. Sorry, chair's being stupid. I stayed up late last night and I regretted it. And of course, the childrens woke up earlier than usual. Go to sleep, friend. You're not my dad. Well, yeah, usually when I have a task, I want to complete it, and then I get stuck on it and hung up over it, you know? So I get frustrated when I can't. Like, man, at least I feel like I got a lot more done with this one than the other emote, you know? Granted, I finished it the next morning and whatever, but yeah. Let me at least finish this little doohickey. And then maybe we're gonna raid sheep. I think that's what we'll probably do. Yeah, exactly, Demon. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna finish this last bit that I'm working on. Yeah, it's part of the armor. Little girl gold swirly thingy, whatever. Yeah. Ba 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 da ba 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 do ba ba da boo. What size? Hershey chocolate and bit. Like on my old Wacom, I was able to disable the buttons because, you know, I accidentally tap it and stuff on my like inner hand or whatever. But this one doesn't let me disable, and that gets me angry. Like, dude, not cool. Yeah, man. Why? What they say? Let's see. Mint is bullying you, simp? What's with the bullying? Drink? Yes, thank you for the hydrate, rat. I shall. I like my little drink. I can talk into it and I echo. Well, what happened? You sent DMs to each other. Getting fresh. Save. So I hopefully should be able to finish this by tomorrow. And you know what? So far, I'm liking the look of it. So hopefully when it goes, that it still looks nice. Let's see. We're gonna check up on our sheep dude. See how's our sheep doing. Try to open up his first. Hold on. Clickety click. Clickety click. Clickety click.
Space 3
Oh, loud! Sorry. So sorry. Don't kill me. Alrighty. We're gonna get ready to raid sheep. He is a good friend of mine. He's fun, he's chill, he does art sometimes. Most of the time plays games. Very interesting fellow. I appreciate y'all being here tonight. Thank you so much for keeping me company while I get some work done. Y'all have a lovely evening. And have a great night. Yeah, I'm gonna end stream. We're gonna go raid. I'm not calling him Piss Boy. Night, thank you, bye.
Depends. Yeah, like nothing heavy in the stomach.
Hey, what the heck? Hey, what the hell? What the heck? The HE double hockey sticks? I don't think I could curse anymore. Fen just got here.
Oh, it's PG-13 now?
No, this is very much rated G. No more cursing.
Okay, rated G.
Rated G.
Alright. Gee Willikers.
Gee Willikers. Freddy?
Okay.
I had a little guy.